Ivan the Terrible's own grandson refused to let this painting hang in Russia's museums. Why? Because it shows the exact moment a Tsar murdered his only heir, his son's blood pooling on the palace floor, his own hands shaking with regret. For centuries, no royal dared look at it for long. But what secret in this gruesome canvas was so unbearable, so damning, that it haunted a dynasty for generations? The answer lies in a single chilling detail, one that even Ivan himself could never escape. Look closely. Ivan's trembling hands cradle his son's head, blood staining the prince's pale skin. Yes, Ivan did kill his own child in a sudden, uncontrollable rage. History records that one blow, delivered with Ivan's iron scepter, shattered not just a skull, but the future of Russia itself. But the real mystery isn't just the violence. It's the look in Ivan's eyes, wide, wild, desperate. What did he see in that moment? Something no emperor should ever witness, the true cost of absolute power. But the horror doesn't end there. The painter Ilya Repin hid something in those haunted eyes that even historians missed for decades. Peer into Ivan's gaze. The madness is unmistakable. His pupils are enormous, his mouth frozen in a silent scream. Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, ruled with a brutality that stained Russian history, but seldom did he show weakness. Here, Repin does something radical. He paints the Tsar's fear, not his fury. And that fear is not just for what he's lost, but for what he's become. A fact most overlook. Ivan IV was likely poisoned by mercury, a supposed cure for syphilis, which warped his mind and sharpened his paranoia. His reign was a study in suspicion. Friends vanished, nobles were slaughtered, even his closest advisors fell to his wrath. But why does Repin let us see Ivan's regret, when history only tells us about his violence? The answer is hidden in a gruesome, almost living detail. Blood. Vivid, almost wet streaks the prince's forehead and soaks his temple. It's the first thing your eye finds, more real than oil paint should allow. Tsarevich Ivan Ivanovich was just 27. Brilliant, beloved, the only legitimate hope for Russia's peaceful future. The force of the blow left a wound impossible to ignore, and Repin refuses to let you look away. Most artists would soften such horror, but here, the blood is the statement. It's not just about murder, it's about the extinction of a bloodline, the ruin of a nation's hope. But this detail serves another purpose. Why does the blood seem to pulse, to almost breathe? Because Repin wanted you to feel the moment history changes, so you can't forget it. Yet there's another layer, one that presses in like suffocating darkness. The chamber itself is a participant in the crime. Look around. Diamond-patterned walls fading into shadow, a single shaft of light falling across a carpet, the air thick with grief. This is the Tarim Palace, deep in Moscow's Kremlin, a fortress designed to shield the Tsar, but also to trap him in his own fears. Repin paints the room as a cage, lined with riches, but devoid of warmth. The lavish patterns and gold trim can't hide the claustrophobia. The window's dim light only makes the gloom deeper. Ivan was a ruler surrounded by enemies, real and imagined. How did a palace built for protection become a crucible for madness and murder? The setting reveals what words cannot. Ivan's world was smaller than his empire, bordered on all sides by suspicion. But the violence itself left a trail no architecture could contain. An overturned chair lies at Ivan's feet, its splintered armrest pointing at the bloodstain like an accusation. Scattered across the floor, a red velvet cushion, a broken goblet, a torn scroll. These are not random. The chair's destruction signals a sudden explosive moment, no slow descent into rage, but a single catastrophic snap. Repin's attention to these details is forensic. The broken furniture marks the precise instant order collapsed into chaos, the second before the dynasty's doom. Historians still debate what words were spoken in that instant. Some say Ivan accused his son's pregnant wife of indecency, others that the Tsar saw disloyalty everywhere. But the painting's chaos is more honest than any record. What if the violence was inevitable, built into the very fabric of Ivan's reign? The answer hides in the most intimate detail of all. Ivan's hands. They are enormous, white-knuckled, desperate. One presses the prince's wound as if trying to force life back in. The other clings to a limp shoulder. It is the touch of a murderer and a father, fused in a moment of irreversible regret. Russian historian Sergei Solovyov wrote that Ivan was a ruler of contradictions, capable of terrible cruelty, but also deep, almost childlike sorrow. Repin captures both in these hands. They are the same hands that ruled, that punished, that created an empire, and that destroyed it with a single blow. How is it possible for a man to kill and console in the same heartbeat? This duality is the painting's true terror, but it's heightened by the sheer beauty of everything else in the room. The fabrics shimmer. Silk, velvet, gold thread. The prince's robe is a masterpiece of embroidery, a reminder of status and youth. The reds in the carpet and drapery are saturated, almost regal, echoing the blood but also the idea of sacrifice and the burdens of kingship. Beneath the dying air, a Persian rug, imported, expensive, links Russia to the world beyond its borders. Repin's textures are more than decoration. They are a rebuke. In a room this rich, surrounded by luxury, how can there be so much suffering? It's as if beauty itself is powerless against violence. But Repin is not done. He wants you to see that this death is not just a family tragedy. It is a national catastrophe. Step back. There's a void around the two figures, a gulf of emptiness that swallows the edges of the scene. No courtiers, no guards, no witnesses, just Ivan and his dying son, alone in a palace suddenly too vast for comfort. This emptiness is heavy. After the prince's death, Russia slid into the time of troubles, 2 decades of war, famine, and political chaos. For the first time in centuries, the throne was empty. Pretenders rose, armies marched, and millions suffered. Ivan's act did not just kill his son, it shattered the spine of a nation. The painting leaves us with questions that ache. What would Russia have become if this moment had never happened? Is violence the inevitable price of power, or was it madness all along? So here's the answer that frightened generations of Tsars. Ivan's crime was not just a personal failing. It was the fatal flaw of unchecked power, crystallized in a single, irrevocable moment. Repin's painting is not merely history. It's a warning. The detail that haunts, hidden for years, is this. The blood on the son's head is painted with a pigment that fades in light, a literal vanishing wound. Repin knew the horror would outlast the evidence. But the emptiness, the silence, remains. What if every ruler was forced to cradle the cost of their own violence? In this room, power and grief are one and the same. The greatest monsters of history, it turns out, are often left alone, mourning what only they could destroy.